Welcome to my Behaviorist biography presentation. My behaviorist is very much still alive and practicing pretty close by to the main campus of George Mason in Baltimore, Maryland. My behaviorist focuses mainly on pediatric feeding disorders and severe problem behaviors. My behaviorist mainly serves children with feeding difficulties, intellectual disabilities, and autism spectrum disorder. Do we have any guesses on who my behaviorist might be? I'm proud to introduce you to Dr. Carrie S.W. Borrero. Dr. Borrero earned her doctorate degree from the University of Florida in 2006 before beginning her work in Baltimore in 2007. For the record, she's not letting any grass grow under her feet since getting to Baltimore. Dr. Borrero is a senior behavior analyst in the Pediatric Feeding Disorders Program at the Kennedy Krieger Institute. She's the co-director of the Maryland Association for Behavior Analysis, and she is an assistant professor of psychiatry and behavior science at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Like the slide says, she's a pretty big deal. A quick overview of her general work is that she has contributed to behavior analysis through her published works and her studies in relation to the treatment and analysis of pediatric feeding disorders, as well as severe problem behaviors and parent interactions in the treatment of these behaviors and disorders. For my research, I reviewed 5 of her articles. The first article is Descriptive and Experimental Analysis of Potential Precursors to Problem Behaviors in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis in 2008. The second is a comparison of descriptive and functional analysis of inappropriate and mealtime behavior, published in Behavior Analysis Practice in 2016. The next one is Descriptive Analysis of Pediatric Food Refusal and Acceptance in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, 2010. The fourth article is a method for evaluating parameters of reinforcement during parent-child interactions, published in Research and Developmental Disabilities in 2005. And the last one is Using Backward Chaining and Physical Guidance to Teach Self-Feeding in Behavior Interventions, published in 2016. 3 of the articles that I reviewed focused on feeding difficulties in children with intellectual disabilities. 1 of the articles focused on the parameters of reinforcement during parent-child interactions, and 1 of the articles focused on the potential precursors to problem behavior. So all of these studies and experiments lead us to the question is, what did she find in all of these? In her studies, she focuses primarily on the functional and descriptive analysis of the behaviors of the participants. She also incorporates the participants' caregivers and parents in many of the studies. She instructs those caregivers and parents to behave as they normally would so that the behaviors can be observed in the most natural setting as possible. Many of the findings that she talks about at the end of her articles and the study discussions detail how the findings can be used in program creation and parent trainings. Her studies also review how reinforcement and the schedule of reinforcement play a vital role in the effectiveness of changing behaviors. Due to this project, I've been fortunate enough to be granted a person-to-person interview with Dr. Borrero. Well, not really, but it would be really interesting to have her actually answer my questions as a new behaviorist. If I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Borrero, I would ask the following questions. Number 1, given your extensive work with children with intellectual disabilities, if you had to choose one factor or function that contributes to the prevalence of problem behaviors, what would it be and why? Number 2, what's your most rewarding accomplishment in your career thus far? Number 3, in many of your studies, you add in the discussion areas that the studies led you to believe that there was more room for research. Have you or do you intend to follow up with that research? If so, which ones and why? Number 4, when you first meet a new client, what are your first steps with the client and parent or caregiver prior to treatment? And number 5, is there anything from your career or studies that went in the total opposite manner than expected? Or where you felt that you made a mistake in application? If so, what and how would you approach the same circumstances in a different way to avoid the problem again? Last but not least, how do I feel that Dr. Borrero has impacted our field and added to it? Well, I think that she's a champion for behavior analysis, and here's why. Feeding difficulties and severe behaviors not only have behavioral consequences, but also have physical health consequences. Her work has helped to open pathways to treatment and parent training to improve the lives of many children with various disabilities. In her work, she supported the previous works of other behavior analysts, supporting their findings and furthering the field, allowing us an applied approach to programs and implementation. Sorry, small technical difficulty. I feel that her work is best summed up with this quote from one of the articles. Evaluating parameters of reinforcement may be useful when designing a treatment by identifying specific dimensions of reinforcement influencing response allocation. This type of information may be useful in training situations with parents and caregivers. Thanks for watching my